It's time to ask the expert what the Niners need to do to beat Arizona. Good morning. I'm joined by former Los Angeles Raiders offensive coordinator Tom Walsh. I'm Grant Cohn. It's Thursday, and we still don't know who the Niners quarterback is going to be this week. Brock Purdy was on the practice field yesterday. You saw the video that I took yesterday of Brock Purdy throwing. You were a coach in the NFL. You've coached a lot of quarterbacks. What did you think of that display? Did it show you anything? Did it prove anything to you?
You know, to be honest, I looked at it because my concern is to see how he was planting and to see how his weight was transferring, what kind of a drive he was getting off of his back foot, and then how much weight he was putting on his lead leg as he came forward. And I thought that was really kind of a drill that you could do in your backyard. I did a couple times when he went to throw the ball, you saw where his right foot actually came off the ground.
Yep.
And he wasn't driving off of it. He was picking it up. And
it's the Jimmy Garoppolo move.
Well, that tells me that there's an issue with his right foot where he doesn't feel comfortable driving off. And I basically say hyperextending that foot and with that toe in the ground and rolling over a bent front leg. So I didn't see the weight transfer. Of course, doing those throws within a very, it's like in a phone booth, there wasn't really much need to transfer a lot of body weight to make those throws with your arm. So that really didn't tell me anything because you didn't see the ball go more than 5 or 6 yards from his hand to the target.
Okay, well, I'll be back there today in practice. I'll see if I can get some footage of him throwing further down the field. I'd like to know your takeaways from Mac Jones' performance. Was he as good as you expected he to be? Was he better than you expected? What'd you think?
I thought he played well. I was impressed by how he handled the game for the most part. He has a good understanding of the game. I think he's a little bit more cerebral than a lot of people give him credit. And, we all know he's got limited mobility and all that, but he does make use of situations to be able to get the ball out of his hands and avoid the sacks and the negative plays. Didn't throw any picks, so you got to be happy about that. And, it's like Jimmy Johnson used to always say, I'm not concerned about how many good plays the quarterback makes. I'm concerned about how many bad plays the quarterback makes. And Mac didn't do anything to put himself into the negative column.
Like you mentioned, he's not a playmaker or a mobile guy like Brock Purdy. And it seems like the last couple of years, Brock's really fallen in love with his playmaking abilities. He's often hunting big plays, extending plays, and sometimes he makes them and sometimes he doesn't. It seems like his decision-making has been a little bit more questionable. Whereas with Mac, you just had a guy sort of doing his job. It was kind of boring compared to Brock Purdy, but it was very effective and he didn't have the big mistakes.
Well, no, it's methodical. Also, now remember this. If I'm Mac Jones, I know that I cannot hold the ball for an extended period of time because A, I'm concerned about protection, and B, I'm concerned about if I get flushed out of the pocket, my improvisational skills are not really good enough for me to use my legs to get beyond the line of scrimmage. And so he's going to chuck the ball down more quickly probably than Brock, and Brock kind of hunts for the bigger play and trusts his legs to bail him out at the last minute in case the pocket has seepage and everything, where Mac knows, hey, I got to get the ball out of my hands, and he makes sure he does. And the key thing about it, let the running back or receiver get the yardage after the catch, go back in the huddle, call the next play. Keep the
You and I, go ahead.
No, I just said the key thing for him is Mac keeps the chains moving.
Yeah. You and I had talked in the offseason about Brock in terms of, yeah, he's good and you want to keep him, but do the Niners really have to extend him? Jennings wanted an extension and they told him, sorry, Juwan, that's not going to happen. They didn't tell Brock Purdy that. They gave him a lot of money, and he's hurt now. He's been hurt he's gotten hurt 3 times in his last 7 starts, and the backup comes in and looks like a starter, puts up really good numbers in this system. Does that lend credence to our thought that maybe the Niners were a little hasty with that contract?
Well, I thought they were hasty. I hate to say it, but I would have said, hey, based upon last year's performance and being an up and down compared to the previous year, I'd say, let's see what you do this next year. Play out your contract, and then we'll talk after the season's over. And if you merit the significant dollars that your agent wants for you, then we'll talk then, and we'll work out a contract favorable, predicated upon how well and how consistent you're playing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they did with Jennings. Juwan says he said he's worth, 20, $25 million a year because he's a high level number 2 wide receiver, and the market would indicate that he is worth that. But the Niners said, tough, you're under contract. You got 1 more year. We'll give you some incentives. And if you don't like it, tough. And Juwan Jennings is playing, and he's playing well. They were not willing to do that with Brock Purdy. I don't know if they didn't want to hurt his feelings or if they're really truly sold that he was, the next Joe Burrow or something. But I think this is kind of a sobering reminder to them that a lot of quarterbacks have played well. Jimmy Garoppolo played really well. And from what I could tell, Mac Jones looked better than Jimmy.
At that, to be honest, the Niners can win with Mac Jones. They can get to the playoffs with Mac Jones. The question is, how healthy will everybody else be around him? That's the key. The same thing as you watch the performance of Brock tail off a little bit last year as the injuries mounted, and he did not have his playmakers around him as much because of the injuries, and his talent is on the field performance, tailed off a bit. But as long as you can keep people healthy, I think Mac mentally can make the decisions. He has a good command of the game. He obviously is bright enough to know the offense and the details of it. I think it's just a matter of everyone staying healthy, and the protection has. You got another rookie starting at left guard this week, and protection is going to be key. And so, based upon that, I'm getting the ball out of my hands early against the Cardinals to keep the confidence factor up, keep the offensive line positive. And then my main concern, obviously, for the Niners is I got to find a better way to run the ball to be able to take a greater burden off of the passing game.
Well, I want to ask you about the run game in a minute, but before we get there, I want to ask you, if you were running this team, this offense, would you want to go with Mac Jones? He's healthy. He just played. He just won. Or would you want Brock Purdy out there? He's your franchise quarterback. You paid him. If he says, look, I'll, have an injection. I'll do what it takes. I may not be as mobile. I may not be able to drive the ball like I normally do, but I want to be out there. What would you do?
Well, here's the thing. I would be leery about playing Brock because you said the magic word, he would need an injection to play. So if I shoot up his toe for him to play on Sunday, first of all, that shot's going to wear off by halftime. So now I'm going to have to shoot him up again for the second half. And then come Wednesday, he'll be hobbling around because he'll be extremely sore once all of the Novocaine and the Xylocaine and all the painkillers, the cocktails that they pump into you wear off. Now you're going to have the stress and the ache and the pain of the real injury that your foot had while your toe was numbed up. And he might miss more. It might even push back to a further degree the amount of time it takes for him to get healthy. So I would have no qualms about holding him out. If he cannot play without the injection, I'm not going to shoot him up and put him on the field. I got Mac, more than adequate. I'll go with Mac.
Yeah, it's because it's like if you throw Brock Purdy out there, 1, he may not win. 2, he could make it worse and he could miss more time than he normally would. And 3, Mac Jones just might give you a better chance to win this particular game considering he's healthy and Brock isn't.
True. And the other thing about it is I've got to look at more than just this game and look down the road and think about, okay, I've got to be able to get Brock healthy to where he doesn't have to have shots. A lot of turf toe issues that we had for years, our trainer, George Anderson, would be able to insert a very rigid, I won't say a board, but a platform in a shoe of a player who had turf toe so that the hyperextension would not be so aggravated, so to speak, when they were running, especially with the running backs. But the Niners have not mentioned anything like that, so I don't know if they have any plans to adjust what goes in Brock's shoe if he were to play, so maybe they can get by without having to shoot him up.
Okay, so we've been talking about the passing game and the quarterbacks, but this is the Shanahans. They have a system. It's always been a run first system since the days of Terrell Davis. Christian McCaffrey's been the catalyst of this offense. Right now, the Niners are fourth worst in the league in yards per attempt. This is not this is new ground for the 49ers. So I asked Kyle yesterday what's going on. Are you facing a lot of loaded boxes? He's like, no, we're facing a lot of too high shells. It's tough to get long runs against those, but you should probably be averaging a higher yards per attempt. We asked Christian, and he said, I gotta break more tackles. What are you seeing as someone who coached Marcus Allen and Bo Jackson?
The offensive line and the tight ends need to block more cleanly. The bottom line is there's too much seepage, there's too much penetration, there's too many players on the edge, a half a man free, and that's negating the ability. I look at how many times the backs are either getting hit behind the line of scrimmage or having to veer away from their sprint spot as to where the point of attack is supposed to be because of the leakage or the seepage of a defensive backer or defensive lineman getting into the backfield. And that, if I can't get you to the line of scrimmage clean, then what success are we going to have in the running game?
Yeah. And it seems like in this particular system, which is more of an outside zone system, that tight end is so important because he's really at the point of attack. George Kittle's been one of, if not the best tight end blockers in this system in the league for a long time. He's out. And I think we see the drop off.
Well, the other thing too now, a lot of teams are now playing a four-man front. They've got a three technique most often on the tight end side of the formation. The Niners like to use Kittle when he was healthy, and now they're still going with the concept of trying to run the outside zone to the right side, where they run the weak side lead to the left, or they run the toss crack tag scheme over on Williams' side. But the bottom line is the three technique to the tight end side. Your right guard now has to be able to reach and button run with that three technique. And any kind of penetration, an edge advantage by that three technique, you've got color in the hole already, and that's eliminating cutback right off the bat. And now you're dictated to have to run to the edge. And if you don't have a clean edge on the outside, you're struggling to get back to the line of scrimmage and gain more than 1 or 2 yards.
Yeah, and Dominic Pooney's been playing. Well, we know he injured his knee in preseason, missed 2 games in the preseason. He's probably not 100% healthy right now, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons the Niners are giving up so many hits in the backfield to Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson Jr. Now they also lost Ben Barch, and they got a rookie starting at left guard, and this week they're going to be facing Calais Campbell, who had 2 sacks last week, and he's 39 years old, so they got a big test ahead of him.
Well, they are, and then they got Sweat on the outside as well. So they've got a pretty decent tandem if they choose to play them side by side in the defensive front for Arizona. So I tell you what, the key thing for the Niners, they're going to have to be able to run the ball better than they have the first 2 weeks if they want to come out of this ball game with a win.
Yeah, let's get right into it. The Niners offense against Arizona's defense. So we know that Arizona's defense is missing Garrett Williams, their number 1 corner. Max Melton and Will Johnson are questionable. We'll see if they play. So there's going to be some opportunities to throw the ball, but still, this Arizona defense has a big D line, and they're very good against the run themselves. And the Niners haven't been running it well. That if the Niners are one-dimensional in this game, they're going to have a tough time. So it starts with Christian.
Well, the other thing too, yeah. Remember now, Arizona has this guy named Buda Baker, who it seems like he's been there forever. This guy is he's got more, his longevity in the league, and he's one of the leading tacklers. And both safeties are excellent tacklers. And if I'm Arizona, until the Niners can throw the ball effectively against me, I'll play a single safety high defense, not too high, and I'll be able to load the box and shut down the run and make the Niners one-dimensional and force them to have to pick up and throw the ball.
And the way the Niners have been running the ball the first couple of weeks, they may not even need to load the box to stop the Niners from running it. I mean, they might be able to play two deep safeties to help their backup corners and still shut down the Niners running game, because it looks to me like Arizona might have the best defensive line in the division. I mean, maybe definitely the biggest defensive line in the division. Calais Campbell in the middle, Sweat and Zaven Collins on the outside. It might be more imposing than the Seattle defensive line that gave the Niners offense a lot of problems.
Well, I tell you what, especially when you're playing with a rookie left guard as well, the other thing about which you have to be concerned, if I get into a pass game situation as a Niner, I'm worried about picking up the stunts. The Niners struggled even against Seattle with a lot of the twist stunts where they were picking each other off and the looper was coming free. Now I stick a rookie left guard in there, and the first thing I'm going to do, we're going to run some games on defense if I'm Arizona with twists and the TE games and the ET games, and see if the Niners can pass it off correctly and not have penetration coming up the middle in Mac Jones's face.
Yeah, they're going to send Josh Sweat around on a loop right into Connor Colby to see if he can pick that one up. They're going to test him early, and maybe he will. I don't know. It seems like he's been doing a pretty good job in pass protection so far. It's going to be a bigger test. He hasn't graded so well as a run blocker. None of the Niners offensive linemen have so far. So we'll see. Big test for the 7th round pick.
No question.
Yeah. Okay. So that's an interesting matchup. We know the Cardinals have a really good safeties, but they're going to be hurting at corner. So it seems like with no George Kittle out there and a questionable running game, it's going to be imperative for the Niners to take advantage of this matchup.
Well, the thing about it, looking back at the game on Sunday, the best play in the passing game, I thought, was the touchdown to Jennings when he was lined up on the left side. And the difference is, instead of throwing the ball to Jennings where his back is to the defense, where he has to, because he is not a quick starter. He's not, instant speed and acceleration. He ran basically what looked like a skinny post kind of concept, a bang eight type of route. He went 42 yards for the touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See, he was running and his shoulders were at angular going towards the end zone already. So he did not have to stop and then restart and get turned around. And so he flashed through that secondary. I mean, I look at the guy, goes, oh my, he's running like he's a 4-4 guy. Well, he was rolling already and the ball hit him right in stride and the momentum just kept him going. And see, the key thing about it is, and I go back to Bill Walsh's concepts for a lot of years, he did not like to throw the ball to a receiver whose back was turned to the defense. That's why Bill liked the slants and the little deeper, the skinny post routes and the angular routes, because he wanted the receiver to be partially already moving towards the end zone where he could take one step, put his foot in the ground, and bam, his shoulders were square and he was attacking the goal line. And where Kyle runs square ends and hook routes and comeback routes where the receiver's bodies are working back towards the offense and they're turned to the defense. So then the receiver has to make the catch and then, rotate hips and footwork and get turned and then get speed going and build up. And I think hitting him on the angle route like that, on that deeper slant concept, is a great way to take advantage of Jennings' skill and also to help initiate some speed for him and get his movement working towards the goal line.
Yeah, we think of Jennings as being slow because he ran a 4.7, but on that play, he almost reached 19 miles an hour. He's like 18.4, which is usually what you see guys running 4.4 and 4.5s running. So it's interesting. And I don't know exactly what Jerry Rice ran at his pro day, but I don't think it was super fast. And on the Niners, he never broke stride, never got caught from behind. So I definitely see what you mean there. That's interesting.
No, to me, it's about the body in motion tends to remain in motion. So when he's running and planting his foot in the ground and making the break and his body is moving at angles towards the opponent's goal line, he's already got all that inertia moving in the direction you want. And then plus you get a well-timed throw out in front where he can catch it in full stride and running full speed, and then he just can accelerate from there. And so you gave him basically a running start on the yards after catch because of how the route was designed.
Absolutely. And it was interesting last week on our playbook breakdown segment powered by Pass Reps, you broke down how the Niners, one, need to get Jawan Jennings involved, and two, how to do it. And you had him running the square in. Kyle Shanahan watched the show, loved the idea, tweaked it a little bit to a bang 8, but I mean, it was the difference in the game. So why don't we bring up Pass Reps again now? Again, this is Playbook Breakdown powered by Pass Reps, where we make you smarter about football every week. You can get Pass Reps yourself and actually practice calling plays before Sunday for only $1.99 a month. Just go to passreps.com. Every week, Tom's going to put together a fresh game plan inside Pass Reps, updated rosters, new opponents, and real plays from the NFL level. Step into the offensive coordinator's role for less than $2 a month. Link is below. Let me put that on the screen. Ooh, hold on. I'll get it in a second. But Tom, let's talk about this play here. That the Niners. Well, what's the key? Last week it was Jennings. Which player is the key to get involved this week?
Okay, what I want to do this week coming in, I want to use a double move on with Ricky Pearsall to take advantage of the backup corners who are playing for Arizona. If I can get a single safety high, okay, then I want to be able to take advantage of Ricky as the split end on the left side of the formation. I'll go with a right formation. I could be in, 21 personnel. I can have Juszczyk in the game if he's cleared to play. I got McCaffrey in the game. I get a single safety high on a rundown situation. I'm going to run a simple combination to the right side with the tight end on what we call a shoot route and the flanker on a slant route. On the left side, I'm going to have Ricky run a slugger route, a slant and go, so that if I get a single safety high and I'm Mac Jones, I'll be able to set up, take a quick 3 drop, give it a quick pump fake, and with a single safety high, and then be able to hit Ricky, take a shot on the left side, and run the slant and go for a big play.
Let's run it.
And see, he can close the cushion. He's got the speed. He can accelerate. And then Mac has a good deep ball arm. So better so than even Brock. So I'm not concerned about Mac not being able to get the ball vertically down the field to Ricky Pearsall. Ricky's not going to outrun Mac's arm, where he could outrun Brock's arm.
Ricky Pearsall is an interesting player. I mean, it seems like he's the Niners' deep threat. He's the guy who stretches the field, and they definitely have to get him involved because he can open up the offense for Christian McCaffrey and Jawan Jennings.
Well, you hit a couple big plays with him. Then now, as you talked earlier, that may force Arizona to get into a defensive configuration where they have to go to a too-high scheme with the 2 safeties. So Buddha and Thompson can help on the outside receivers, and then that hopefully might open up a little bit more favorable run game for the Niners because they only have 7 in the box as opposed to 8 in the box.
What about if we run Dino Y cross and put Pearsall at X? What's this route going on over here?
Well, the good thing about it on the outside is that's a double move route. This goes back to Bill Walsh and all that with Taylor and Jerry Rice and those guys. And I can take the inside receiver across the safety space, give the outside receiver, Ricky, a chance to run a double move with a little post stem in it and a bend, and then accelerate. If the free safety turns his hips and goes with the inside receiver across his face, I now have the outside receiver, Ricky, one-on-one on the double move to the post route. And if I don't like that because it's too high, we don't clear it out, I can bring the ball back down to the tight end on the crossing route underneath and check the ball down to him. And so
I love that on this Pass Reps that you can just cycle through the different coverages and just see like how the play works against different coverages.
Yeah, you can see who's open automatically. You know where the ball has to go. Once you see the quote unquote the lay of the land with the secondary, you know where the voids are going to be, and so that'll dictate where the ball has to go.
Yeah. Let's look at one more play because I'm having fun messing around with this. We got Dino Y cross. There's one with the Z just taking a fade down the left sideline, 9-3 wide takeoff arrow.
Yeah. Now,
how about this one?
Which one you got? Oh,
Fresno.
You got
the post with the X.
This is a pressure concept where if I had Kittle, it's a man beater for Kittle to get the ball to
Okay.
George. On the other side, now George is not playing this week, so now on the right side of the formation, uh, I'm not concerned about looking over there because that's not Kittle. But I go to the left side of my set now. I've got my slot on a 4 pivot route, and I got
Mm.
post on the outside again. So I now have a high-low combination on the left side of my formation to be able to get the ball into the slot receiver on the pivot route. And if I get a single safety high, I still got a shot on my outside receiver to the post. So you got some
I like that you
combination.
can put McCaffrey right here in the slot too.
You can do that. You can take 21 personnel. I just walk McCaffrey up into the double formation. If the safety comes down, I know it's going to be an invert zone or man to that side. If it's a backer walking out, hey, chances are it's going to be some kind of a zone coverage scheme, a 3 deep package, or 2 deep where he's going to run with them vertically. But if I get the single safety high concept, now I got a chance to get the ball down the field. I don't have to force it into a too high scheme. I can take my shots vertically and go for some big plays.
Well, look, you just saw the breakdown. Now go test your own football IQ. Pass reps updates weekly. $199 a month. The link's below. Don't just watch the game. Call it. Passreps.com. Okay, let's look at the other side of the ball. The 49ers defense against Arizona's offense. What do you notice about Arizona's offense this season through 2 games?
To be honest, I like the players they have on offense. They now finally have some skill receivers. They got a tight end and who can catch the ball, who's getting paid now. McBride, and then their outside receivers. They get Marvin Harrison Jr. He's only had like 11 targets the first 2 games. He got a couple PIs that don't show up in the stat columns, but obviously they're first downs. The run game, Connor's not clicking right now a little bit. Trey Benson basically has gained some more yards for them than Connor has. My whole concern about that offense centers around the quarterback. If he can, he's going into, what is this, year 7, I believe, for him.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's completed about 70% of his balls so far this season. He's also scrambled a bit, picked up 4 first downs scrambling, which always has been a problem for Salah in terms of containing, Murray. But I think they've got some good weapons on offense. The whole thing about, for which I have a concern, is how consistently can Murray play at quarterback. And if I tell you what, they've got a legitimate talent. They've got a playoff caliber ball club. Even if it's a wild card, this team is good enough to get to a playoff berth. If that's a big if now, if Murray can produce and can play with some consistency and quote unquote, not get carried away with, taking high risk plays and things like that.
He makes so many mistakes that you wouldn't expect a guy making that much money to make. That being said, like, he can make certain plays that no one else can make. He's very dangerous scrambling the ball. I'm looking at their offense. I was watching both their games this morning. They remind me a lot of the Seahawks schematically. Their offensive coordinator is Drew Petzing. He's a Kubiak guy. The Seahawks guy is Kubiak. They have like a lot of 3 wide receiver formations, heavy formations. They want to run the ball. They have 1 wide receiver you really got to be scared of. The difference, though, is they have a tight end. Trey McBride is a hell of a tight end, and he's their number 1 receiver. The Niners have to have a plan for him. They're going to throw him 10 balls.
Well, yeah, I don't know if the Niners can think they can, if they're going to play some kind of man coverage, if they think that they can match up with a linebacker on McBride, or are they going to have to commit a strong safety down in the box to be able to play him man to man. And that'll be the key.
Yeah, I don't know who they're going to have match up, because that Niners rookie, Marquise Siegel, looks like a good tackler. He has range. He's 5'11". He doesn't have long arms. He gave up the touchdown catch to Juwan Johnson last week where he had good body positioning. He just couldn't make a play on the ball. They could try Jair Brown, who got benched and is now playing sort of a hybrid big slot role, but he's never been good in coverage. I don't know what they're going to – that's a tough matchup for them. They might just have to play zone.
Well, that would be a benefit for Kyler Murray, because he should be able to, handle making those kind of throws, especially to a tight end who's going to be a pretty good target for him between the hash marks, and an easy 8 to 10 yard pitch and catch.
Yeah, they don't do a whole lot with him. It's a lot of like Y stick, and then he makes the catch, breaks the tackle, and it's instead of it being a 6 yard gain, it's 12 yard gain, which is impressive. But it doesn't seem like the explosiveness in their offense is Kyler scrambling or throwing down the field to Marvin Harrison Jr. He's kind of like their Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah, and so far, they've only targeted him like besides the 2 PIs. I think he's only been targeted like 11 times in 2 games, and that's not enough. So somewhere along the line, they've got to construct the formation uh, to be able to get Harrison some more favorable looks where he's got a chance to be able to get the ball. They've got to run some what we call some people routes rather than patterns where Kyler Murray has to go through a whole progression to be able to determine where to get the ball. So if I want to throw the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm going to call some routes that give him some options to where I can focus on him getting the ball 75% of the time when I make that play call. And I think that's what you got to do to get him the ball. It gets back to the same concept a lot of times about how many touches can I get Marvin Harrison Jr. in that Arizona offense, and even the same thing with McBride. So I got to call some people passes, not pass patterns, but some plays that are focusing on getting the ball to a particular person and giving him some choices or options in this route for where I can hit him, 75, 80% of the time, regardless of what the coverage is.
It's going to be interesting to see how the Niners match up personnel wise, because it doesn't seem like the Cardinals use a lot of 3 wide receiver formations. They use a lot of 3 tight end formations. They have a lot, Elijah Higgins, I believe, 84, Tip Ryman. They got and Trey McBride. So they have 3 guys. They want to run the ball. I don't know if Upton Stout's going to be able to play in this game very much. He was such a big factor last week. It seems like they might have to go back to Luke Gifford on the ball, 5-man front, 8 in the box. Could be that kind of a game.
Well, the thing about it is, if I was Arizona and running with Drew running these heavy packages and everything, I would go back and look at what the Detroit Lions did against, even though the defensive coordinator is different now, look at what they were able to do in the playoff game in that first half of that ball game against the Niners back when the Lions had the game in hand, and they just got away from doing what they were doing best in the second half of the ball game, but they went big. And the Niners defensive front, which was better then than it is now with the youth and the experience and everything with the front 7, and get into some heavy packages and see if they can hold up and I run the ball.
This is going to be such an interesting test for the 49ers young defensive line. Mykel Williams, Alfred Collins, they've been improving, but now you got to play an offense that's going to run the ball a lot with a lot of heavy personnel packages. The quarterback's a rushing threat. It's going to be really hot at Levi's Stadium. The game's probably going to be pretty tight in the fourth quarter. What is that defensive line going to have left? Because the first 2 games of the season, they really won the game with their defensive line at the end. Bryce Huff was fresh. Nick Bosa was fresh. How fresh are they going to be in the fourth quarter of this game?
Well, that's the other thing. Rotating players is going to be key, especially if the weather's going to get up into the low 80s. It's still early in the season. These guys really now, this is really the 3rd week of the season. And for some of these players, this is only really the 3rd week of where they've played a lot of football. And so you got to rotate them, and you got to take, the number of snaps that they're getting. You got to look at pass rush situations. You got to look at your groups that you're going to insert on 3rd down. You want fresh legs to be able to attack the pocket. The other thing about which you have to have a concern, Grant, as we talked earlier, is who is going to spy. If I'm going to play man coverage against them in nickel situations on 3rd down, who is going to be the spy on Kyler Murray? Who's going to be in the Niner defense? And now it's great to say I got a spy, but my spy had better be able to catch the guy you're spying. So now you tell me in the Niner package, based upon your vast experience and knowledge of the ball club, who is that spy that Salah's going to put on the field who can run down Kyler Murray?
Well, 2 guys. D. Winters has been playing his ass off so far. He ran a 4.49, I believe, at the combine. Could give him a chance. Maybe he can run with Kyler Murray from the hash to the side, from the numbers to the side, the hash to the sideline. Maybe he could cut him off. And then there's the strong safety Marquise Siegel, who ran a 4.37. He really does have range. those would be the two guys. I wouldn't put Fred Warner on that assignment. I think that's a tough one for him.
Yeah, no, that's not a good matchup. And the other thing is, uh, Salah should be better now than he was. I remember a couple of years ago when we were talking about football and doing shows that God, Kyler Murray just killed Salah a couple seasons back when he was the defensive coordinator. The first time he went up against Murray, Murray ran ragged all around the Niners and they couldn't contain him. And the Niners had some pretty good linebackers and safeties back in those days. But I think now with Salah's experience, the other thing I would think about is I would have a spy on the left side and a spy on the right side. And the other thing is I've got to maintain some gap integrity in my pass rush. I cannot have two defensive tackles both rushing B gaps because then I open up the Grand Canyon right down the pipe through the middle of the defense. So I've got to make sure that I have A gap control in the pass rush. And the second thing, Grant, is I've got to make sure I do not have all four of my defensive linemen rushing on the same plane, where I can draw a straight line across the pass rush and all four of them are on the same level. I've got to have it staggered so that they're not all showing up at the same depth at the same time, because then once Murray breaks that level, it's over. So I've got to stagger it. I cannot. Okay, here's the thing. We all cannot be going for the sack all the time. Somebody has to be a controlled rusher. We cannot all think about sack, 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 sack. See, so can I get that message across as Salah to my defensive front and let them understand there's more to this game than just going for the sack?
I think that's the whole key to the game, because to me, you don't need to sack Kyler Murray. He's not a good enough quarterback. All you have to do is keep him in the pocket, because once he's stuck there, he can't really see the field. Even if he can see a receiver, can he get the ball without past the defensive line without it getting knocked down? I mean, Alfred Collins is 6'5", Michael Williams is 6'5". Like, just keep him there. So if you got, that's why I like rushing 5 against him, because if you rush 4, there's always going to be that one gap that he can scramble out of. But if you rush 5 and just have everyone contain him and not go for the sack, I'm not scared of him at all anymore.
Well, you want to be able to harass him also, that even if he does have to make the throw, his platform has been disrupted. He's had to move his feet. He's had to find a crease, for a passing lane. And, you take him away from being a rocking chair quarterback where he's got a clear field of vision. And now at 5'9" and whatever change that he is, it's a different ball game for him, because he doesn't have a clear lane into which he could throw the ball.
Well, I remember the Niners facing Russell Wilson for years, and they would always lose. And what would happen is it'd be a really close game. They'd be doing a great job. And then in the fourth quarter, they get tired. It'd be 3rd and 13, and he'd scramble for 14 yards. It would happen all the time. And I wonder if that's the key in this game. You could do great against Kyler Murray for 58 minutes, but if it's close and it's 3rd and 15, are you going to give up the scramble? Because that's sort of been not just Robert Saleh's defense, the Niners defense for the whole time I've covered him.
Well, the thing about it is the discipline that's required. Guys get tired, they get fatigued, and then all of a sudden the mind starts to float a bit. They lose a little bit of focus. They're getting winded. They're a little bit gassed, and then all of a sudden, bang, they get hit with a play.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do some prize picks for this week. Hold on. Let me get it on the screen. Prize picks time. There we go. Let's start with Kyler Murray, since he's the key to the game. 210.5 passing yards is his projection for prize picks, more or less. What do you think?
I say fewer.
You say fewer. I like that, because the Niners defense is pretty good, and they're going to run the ball a lot.
Oh, yeah. See, the thing about it is Arizona needs to, eat the clock a little bit also in their favor. They don't want to be out there defensively on that field for extended 12 and 14 play drives.
It's true. Rush yards. Christian McCaffrey, 69.5, more or fewer?
I think this week he will get yards. I will say more.
Okay. More. I mean, they're going to keep giving him the ball. They need him to. What about James Conner, 49.5 rushing yards?
God, he needs to have a breakout game. I think
He's
he's
struggling.
got like 38 yards so far, some anemic number so far.
Yeah.
I mean, he is just, the thing about it is he can bust a run as well. So I say I'm taking more on him.
He's currently averaging 3.2 yards per carry, but last year he went for 1,000 yards, went for 1,000 yards year before that. Good player, but say more. Okay. How about receiving yards? Juwan Jennings, 51 and a half. No, hold on. Let's go to Ricky Pearsall. That's the man of the week. 57 and a half for Ricky.
See, I've got to find a way for him to get more yards. I'll say more.
Yeah, that's the key to the game for the Niners. Trey McBride, 62 and a half.
I'll say fewer.
I like that. And then last one, Marvin Harrison, 46 and a half.
Oh my goodness. The thing about it is, God, he doesn't get enough targets.
He
Uh,
doesn't.
See, I've got to say fewer because I don't think Kyler and the offense and Drew is they're going to be able to get him the ball as much as they need to. He's going to have to get, I would say, 8 to 10 targets in this game and get about 5 to 6 at minimum catches if Arizona's going to win. And I don't know if they have that mindset.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to submit the lineup. Download Prize Picks yourself. Use promo code COHN and get $50 in lineups when you play $5 instantly. The app is available in 45 states, including California and Texas. Use promo code Cohn. All right. Let's do a prediction. Who do you expect to win this game?
Well, put it this way: I think the Niners should win the game.
Okay.
Um, I think Mac Jones, even if he plays, will manage the game and handle the environment better than Kyler Murray. And it
Yep.
gets down to me, even though Kyler can run and he's got legs and he's a big play waiting to happen, how many bad plays is he going to make during the game? I go back to the Jimmy Johnson thing. It's not a matter of how many good plays he's going to make, how many bad plays is he going to make? And when Kyler makes, I hate to say it, it's like he doesn't just make 1 or 2 bad plays a game. When he has a bad game, he'll make a half a dozen, and he just blows up on you. So I like the stability they needed if Mac played. I would worry if Purdy's going to play. I would be concerned about keeping him upright, allowing him to play freely mentally, and not worry about his foot and his toe. And his left shoulder. That's another issue that we haven't even discussed. So you're talking about a banged up quarterback. I would rather play a healthy quarterback because I don't need Brock Purdy to win this game because I think Mac can win it with his solid play and his good decision making. We lost your voice.
Sorry. Kyler can just lose the game on his own too. I was watching the Cardinals this morning, and to me, my takeaway is I think they're a really good team. I think their defense is really good. I love their tight end, but I thought that Spencer Rattler was better than Kyler Murray week 1, and I thought that Bryce Young was better than Kyler Murray week 2. So they're kind of winning in spite of him right now, and I don't know if they can do that against the Niners.
No, the Niners defense and Salah, they're too good for that. That's why I favor the Niners. It'll be a close ball game. It's not going to be a blowout by any measure, but I still think the Niners should come out on top, and they should score maybe 23 points for San Francisco. And I'd say that the Cardinals could end up with, say, 16 or 17.
Sounds about right. All Niner forces, Tom and Grant. Why does Kyle not do the traditional play action, move the pocket with Brock like he did with Mac and Jimmy? Does he not?
He does. He runs the
does.
bootlegs and the nakeds. He runs them more to the left than I would with a right-handed quarterback. And see, that's another thing. Go back to the Bill Walsh deal. When he went from Joe Montana to Steve Young, all of his waggles and his bootlegs with Joe were to his right. Well, once he had Steve Young in the game, bam, everything went to the left. And Bill was really adverse to taking the quarterback out of the pocket against his throwing arm. And I remember we played Steve starting against us, and it was a preseason game in the Coliseum, and Steve's at quarterback. And all week they come out in 12 personnel. The first play of the game, they fake right, and Steve Young boots left.
Mhm.
I mean, everyone in the stadium knew it was coming, and sure enough,
Yep.
there he is out there on the left side raising Cain because he was a quarterback built like a running back. And oh yeah, let's see, that's the one thing about it. So yeah,
I remember
look,
we talked about this a while ago. I think this was like the 2013 NFC Championship game when the Niners were in Seattle. If you remember, that game starts with Russell Wilson play faking to his left, and what's dangerous about that is if you picture it, the ball is in the quarterback's right hand. So if he play fakes to his, if he rolls to his right, it's behind him and protected. You roll to the left, it's exposed, and Alden Smith stripped the ball away from Russell Wilson. On that play, the Niners recovered. They would go on to lose that game. But that, I remember you emailed me as soon as it happened saying, well, that's the risk you take when you roll your right-handed quarterback to the left.
correct.
Yep.
All security key.
Yeah. 12 years ago. All right. Well, that's our show. Tom's picking the Niners to win the game. They should win the game. I don't know if I have as much confidence. I don't know. Something tells me
Come on,
that
Greg, you got
one.
to make a decision.
So you like the Niners in this game. You like their defense. I like the Cardinals defense. And I want to see how many of their corners actually suit up before I make a decision. If they don't have any of their corners, I'll pick the Niners. But if they have two of the three, I don't know. I mean, damn, that defense is good. We'll see. Yeah.
Well, I'm
Tom,
making my prediction on Thursday. I'm not waiting till kickoff to make mine on Sunday.
let the record show that Tom had a lot more guts than I did today. I'm backing out of this one. I haven't decided yet. I'm leaning towards the Cardinals, but the fact that you're picking the Niners gives me pause. So I have to reconsider. Thanks a lot, Tom. And thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you go check out passreps.com.